Untitled 2 Part 2. The last part to this thought with emotions separate from trying to really go further into emotions has to do with the psychological cognition when there's distractions, stuff happening, when people send text messages during, like videos like now. And un and emotions not explainable, unexplainable emotions. It's like burping, like it's unexplainable sometimes, like no matter how slow you eat, and it's like with my eye, no matter how hard I look right to the camera lens, I get double vision when I look this way, but the camera's over there, so it looks like I'm always looking. But some people mess with me, the nurse, I don't know if they always do it, with intent, or it's just a habit with behavior and gesture, and nurses and doctors, really knowing what's happening with that kind of stuff. They know anatomy and physiology. Standing to my right, because they know I focus really good straight and to the left. But just staring straight ahead, it's like I start to see my face, and it's just weird seeing your face trying to explain emotion. Because it's like your face wants to start doing this, and your face just wants to go. Or, it's unexplainable. So I got into this thinking about emotions again, because there's a whole set of books that I'm working towards with my school, writing and research, and citing sources and stuff, and they really get into like understanding, like with autism they say it's a spectrum, Asperger's spectrum, they call stuff spectrum. And like colors, that's why they like the range, to be described as colors, the tie-dye, like, oh, I am very conscious and emotionally diverse, and I need to stop this voice. An emotion like, and emotions came up right after comedy, because you get, kind of less aware about your emotions, with your attention, because it's just like, I just want to have fun now that I know comedy, like being a nanny's scary, it's like, oh, school's closing everywhere, like doing medical school, applicancy work, maybe for nothing, I could be making these videos and get no progress towards my goal, and never reach my purpose, what I want to do. So there's an emotion from that kind of response, for example. So recognizing the emotion in the brain, and not just trying to figure out the emotion, automatically gives the information to the body, brain, and mind quicker than the language I'm saying now, just signals and all kinds of activity inside our human body, inside the human body, not seen consciously from the outside, Inside, it's minions and tie-dye. And knowing the emotions coming from the thinking and the thought about nannying, the thought about, missing work, and there's some, confusion because then the memory is like, and it just gets a little bit tricky. And going down kind of takes away some of the emotional kind of resonance, some of the emotional almost memory, like, oh gosh, I feel like crap, like I feel horrible, sad, and then you go and, eat something or, go run, come back, okay, and then it comes back, you're like, oh, I'm still sick, and you're not saying, oh, but you're feeling the emotion in the body, in the brain, in the mind. And when a person can recognize the thinking, then you go down and just do, some heart breathing recognition, whatever description to call those kinds of choices. Yoga. And reducing stuff like food to give more chemicals to the brain. So you get an emotion of sadness, so you start eating and then you get more chemicals in the brain, gets more information, more data, feels more. And then also trying to figure out each emotion, like the books. Like, well, you go through every single emotion, like the DSM manual for disorders, and treat the emotions almost like a disorder system with processes, like, okay, sad, happy, emotion. Sad, sad, it's that like sad feel. I don't know how to describe sad. And I think that's why people use colors a lot. Like, how are you feeling today? What's your mood? And they put that color display up or put a color display up. And then you pick and you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gray. Definitely gray. My minion shirt didn't work. And, more, I think, respectfully, like, oh, I'm sad. The rest of the month I'm not going to be able to nanny and have no income, and then, going down, getting the body back up with awareness and attention, and less, worry and need to keep trying to figure out the emotion occurring that's, happening in the body, brain, and mind. The mind, recognizing the emotion, and then, the body, feeling the sadness. But the body going back up gives the energy, and then that gives that kind of boost where it's like, oh, well, I get a vacation, and it's like, oh, maybe I won't have a job anymore, 1 day a week. Okay, then I guess I can start to hopefully teach meditation eventually or something, and have a little bit of extra food money or no big deal either way, Spend less on my cell phone bill, really, it's like $110, good gosh, like, time to drop that down too. And the up and the down, aren't the ups and the downs traditionally talked about with emotions, the sadness and the happiness. The sadness for some people being helpful for like their art, making, the stuff more emotional, dark, scary, like tomorrow, the Friday the 13th in March. And then the emotions are more about brain and mind, going to different parts, and the brain doing what it does. And what the brain is doing and does can't always be described, like consciousness. How do you really explain consciousness? I mean, good golly geez. People paint, people draw, people write, and people say, the stuff with the emotions, well, it's the amygdala, it's language, what they're talking about, but the emotion isn't actually language. The emotion is chemicals. The emotions from the world. And with the brain in the world, the body helps the brain and the mind in the world. And just dealing with the emotion with your brain and mind has less to solve what needs to get, figured out. Because then you got your body working with your brain and mind, and you're basically like a minion, like bananas. It's like, oh, too many bananas, sad. Oh, banana. You're like, oh, one banana. It's like, okay, I got, too much sun in my eyes, so I put on my peace goggles. And then my fearful emotion leaves that I'm going to go blind from the sun. And the body now, is a shirt. So, I mean, possibly it could go down to your style where your emotion and your recognition, just using the restroom, making sure you check and make sure, you're looking good. To go and have fun with your husband or wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever, to look good for your service animal. So they know you better not shed everywhere. You need to just stay the way you are, sister, brother, whoever. And then the mind and the brain get a break from language also. Language, being remembered about certain emotions and having those descriptions about emotions more as learning about your body, brain, and mind. Because then it's giving psychological cognition where you can recognize those emotions and, not only get what's happening inside the body, brain, and mind, but the world. And what the world is doing to your emotions. And then how to live in the world. How to be, a whole brain, whole body, brain, body, mind in the world. The end.